OnShp tutorial in the CAD block series. This is CAD block 2. We're going to walk you through some of the steps should be very familiar. All right, you can see like this grid of dots. We use that to give us an easy way to start off on this one. But you'll notice we have some arcs in here, so that's new. So let's go ahead and get started. So to begin with, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go OnShp and I'm going to create a new document. And we're going to call this CAD block 2. Okay. Once again, I'm going to start off in the front plane. So I'm going to select my front plane. All right. And then I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to go new sketch. If you don't have a mouse, I strongly suggest you get one or borrow one. All right. We now have a classroom set of them. So I strongly urge you to use a mouse. It makes your life a lot easier. All right. To keep the clutter down, I'm just going to come over here to my design tree and I'm going to turn off visibility by poking out these eyeballs. So I turn off all 3 of my normal planes, my front, right, and top. Okay, sketch number 1 you can see is active and my sketch tools are active. So I'm going to right click in the design space and I'm going to choose view normal to sketch plane. From here, I'm going to come up here and go to my point tool, just like we did in the last drawing, and I'm going to put a point right on the origin. And then I'm going to go to my linear pattern tool. I'll select that point and I'm going to tell it that I want an 8x8 grid. So 8 points in this direction, enter, double click. I want 8 points in this direction, enter. I'm going to double click on this dimension here. This is my offset dimension. So how far do I want my points apart? Okay, the default was 1 inch. I'm changing that to 1/4 of an inch or 0.25, and I'm going to do that in both directions. So double click 0.25. All right, so now I've drawn my grid, and as I mentioned, as I may have mentioned in the previous video or in class, if you don't left click, you see how I have this mouse icon with the check mark. If I don't left click, then it won't keep the grid. All right, if I go pick another tool, the grid's going to disappear and I'm going to lose it. So I need to click to confirm, and now my points are done. I'm going to hit the F key on my keyboard to zoom to fit. All right. And then if you have a scroll wheel on your mouse, instead of scrolling in and out to zoom in and out, I can click with the scroll wheel like it's a button and use that to kind of drag my drawing around in the space. Sometimes that's very handy. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for my rectangle tool. So last time we used the line tool, this time we're going to use the corner rectangle tool. I'm going to click on the corner rectangle. If you don't see the corner rectangle, click on the drop down arrow next to it. You'll see there's a couple different rectangle tools we can use. Corner rectangle is kind of the go-to for this one. All right, so I'm going to click on my first point with my corner rectangle, and I'm going to draw over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks, and then I'm going to go up 6 blocks to get my 1.5 by 1.5 square. Notice when I draw the rectangle, it automatically gives me dimensions and offers them up. I'm going to leave those dimensions. All right, so that's all I wanted to do for this sketch. This is my first sketch, so I'm going to green check. All right, and now I'm going to select that rectangle I just did, or that square. You'll notice it's selected because it's orange. And then I'm going to go up here to extrude. All right, now if I have a mouse, I can right click and drag, and that allows me to orbit my drawing a little bit. So you can see that it's it's extruding out or forward from my grid of dots. I want to extrude in the opposite direction. So I'm going to click the arrow here, and that will reverse the extrusion direction. I also want to change the depth. All right, my square is 1.5 by 1.5 inches, so I want to turn it into a cube that's 1.5 inches deep. So now I'm going from a shape to a form. And we talked about that in class a little bit. So now I'm going to green check to confirm that. All right, you'll notice when I do, it automatically hides the sketch. Well, I kind of want to keep that sketch visible. So I'm going to come over here and poke the eyeball back on. Okay, and I'm going to go to my front view by using the navigation cube up here. I'm going to select that front view, right click, and make a new sketch there. Okay. It's important that you're making a new sketch and not editing a sketch. All right. We don't want to edit sketch 1. We like sketch 1 the way it was. So now what we want to do is based on what we had before, I know that there's a notch that's cut out here, and I know that there's a tunnel that goes underneath, arc tunnel that goes underneath. So I'm going to go back to the corner rectangle tool, and I'm going to start from the outside corner, and I'm going to come in because I know that it's 2 by 2, and I'll snap to that point. Okay. And then I'm going to come down to the bottom, And to make that arc tunnel, I'm going to use my 3-point arc tool. This is one of my favorites. All right, so I'm going to go in here, select that. I know that to use this tool, I need to click both ends of it and then stretch the arc. So I'm going to grab the first end, the second end, and I'm going to stretch this arc up. All right. Now, if I turn off my part visibility by poking the eyeball right here, and if I hide sketch one by poking the eyeball here, okay, I don't like this would be a closed shape, but this here is not a closed shape. So I need to use my line tool to close off the bottom of this so that I can use it to make a cut. All right. So before we made an extrude, now we're going to make an extruded cut. So green check. I'm going to select this shape and this shape. I'm going to go to my extrude tool, but instead of doing a new or an add, I want to remove geometry. So I'm going to set it so it goes through the whole thing. So instead of going to a specific depth, it's going through the whole thing. All right. So you can see where it's going. Let's turn our part visibility back on. All right, we're going to tell it to merge with all, which means it's going to automatically cut through the part that we already made. And then I'm going to green check. All right, so now I'm done making the shape for CAD Block 2. So we're going to jump right into doing the drawing. So I'm going to come over here to part 1. Okay, let's rename this. So I'll right click and rename it. I'm going to call this CAD Block 2. And then I'm going to right click and I'm going to create a drawing of CAD Block 2. You'll notice that previously we created the ANSI A River Tech template, right? Because it's in recently opened. If I go to owned by me or created by me, you'll see these are the templates I made. And I've made a couple of them, right? So I'm going to go for my ANSI A River Tech template. You probably only have one. And I want to do 4 views, just like we did before. Click OK. All right, it's loading up. So there it is. All right, now you'll notice it says CAD Block 1. That's because that's the text I had in that box. So now the only thing I have to edit in this one, as I'm zooming in with my scroll wheel, click and dragging with my scroll wheel, all I have to do is come down here and change this from CAD Block 1 to CAD Block 2. All right, so I don't have to go back and edit the title block all over again. So that saved me a lot of time and hassle. Green check to confirm my text edit. Okay, now what's missing? Okay, from doing the last one, you're probably thinking, well, he doesn't have the overall dimensions, and you're absolutely correct. So I'm going to go to my dimensioning tool, and I'm going to go from here up to here, and I'm going to put in my overall height. Okay, and then I can go from here to put in my overall width, and then I'm going to go from here to put in my overall depth. So just that simple, right? It was really pretty easy. On this one, I'm going to add the radius of this tunnel here. And let's up the complexity. We got a little bit of time, right? It's been so easy. So you'll notice when I add in the dimension for a tunnel, it gives it to me as a radius because it's not a hole. Holes, circular holes are dimensioned by diameter. Okay, arcs like this are dimensioned by radius. Right. So we're going to add that one in, and then we'll add in the depth of this step here. So from here to here is a 1/2 inch, right? And then we can add in the width of that step from here to here is a 1/2 inch. And once again, I'm putting it between the views, so it's easy to see kind of where it belongs, and I can kind of trace this across and say, oh, that's the height of that, and oh, that's the width of that. So now I have everything dimensioned on this part that I really wanted, really needed, with the exception of maybe the location in the middle of this. All right, so to show where the middle of that is, I'm going to dimension from this corner to here, and that allows me to show where the middle of that arc is. So knowing how far it is to get to the middle of that, and then knowing its radius, I can replicate that arc. All right. So I'm going to hit escape, get out of my dimensioning tool. I'm going to try and tighten this up a little bit. See if I can't move this over some. That's better. So at this point, you're ready to take your screenshot, add this into your documentation, right? And then you can move on to the next one.